All right, guys, we're back for round, what is this, 4 of the Supercoach season. AFL season just, wrapped up round 4. Uh, to be honest, this was probably the worst round of this year. I found none of the matches really that entertaining. But Supercoach, a fair bit happened, so we'll get into it. 22-38, the score, not bad. I'll take it, definitely. Could have been better. I did make one misplay in terms of rank and score, but like it was for a matchup because I was versing a mate. Um, so yeah, it could have been say 2260, 2270. I don't see that being much of a change. Maybe I'm sitting just outside the top 10,000. Maybe it goes up to close to 10,000. So yeah, but still, I'm fine with that. I think 11,000 at this point is the best I've done early season. Usually I start bad and have to work up. This time I've started good and I'm going to work down. That's what. Man, this team just a lot of mistakes. I think trading. Really like overreacting to certain things and then underreacting to other things. Um, The big issue of the weekend, we'll get into a bit later because it's a midfielder, but luckily I escaped that. I should have been punished for it. Cripps, obviously, but I should have been punished because I didn't bring him in, and he's obviously averaging high enough that you do want to bring him in. Obviously now you don't because he's injured, but yeah, it's a shame that that's happened. But you know, playing this game, you got to take what you get, and that's how it is. As for the team, the defense was hit and miss, sort of. Short was good. Definitely looks like a top 6, maybe even top like 4 defender. We'll see. Um, Crisp put together a good score in the fourth. We'll see if he can keep that up. It's going to be interesting. Collingwood's got Brisbane this week. That's not a terrible matchup by any means. Who have they got next week? Just have a look. Essendon. Oh yeah, he should be able to keep up pretty good scores. So this is one that people probably overreacted on and traded him out. Um, I don't know if I call it overreaction. It was pretty fair, but yeah, people that held him got rewarded with. I think last week wasn't even, or the week before last wasn't too bad. I think last week was 80 something, wasn't it? Everyone's on it this time of day, huh? Oh yeah, just I think it was an 88 last week, something like that. Man, I don't know why. As soon as I press record, the site turns to junk. 85, I saw it. Hall, not great. But I mean, he should have got a bit higher. I think there was just a bit of scaling that didn't go his way. It is what it is. I think there was a period of the fourth where he wasn't on the ground. Just I wouldn't say stuck off field. It's just the rotations kind of got messed up. Zeeble going forward, if it sticks, which I mean they've won last week, or at least if they didn't win, they were competitive they were competitive for a long time. So maybe they stick with Zeeble as a forward, which would suck if you've got Zeeble, but I don't think many people do. But for Hall, this is great. This is actually kind of like ideal because now that Zeeble's forward and my fan's about to just turn up, so I'm going to move the mic a bit this way. For Hall owners, I think last game Hall had the most kickouts he's had this year, so good signs. We'll see how it stays together. Yeah, this week, who do I see? The Dogs. I think they've got. No, am I missing something? And 5, yeah, the Dogs. Dogs are pretty inaccurate, so it should help Hall, you'd imagine. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Ridley, this is one that I probably underreacted to. I thought they'd be fine. I The only issue now is it's hard to trade him because there's not much to go to. It's either drop him to a rookie or sideways into someone that maybe is a keeper, has probably durability issues, or maybe they're just not the most consistent scorers. Yeah, it's a bit tough. I probably should have already traded him out. Dawson was right there. Probably just should have started Dawson straight up. Um, it's a tough one. I probably do have to keep him now. Like, who they got? Frio. Frio's not a bad one for him. Frio do just sort of kick it forward without much of a plan. Whereas Collywood, that's another one that's not too bad for him. They're not the most accurate team. And then in the Dogs. All right, so maybe Ridley's next three is kind of like whether you can have him or you can't. Right now, I think that he's scoring so inconsistent, and his role, like the actual on-field role, is so inconsistent that he's just not all that viable right now. But we'll see. It could get better because he's put up, I think, 2 good scores this year, so it's tough with Ridley. I should probably, like, going back, I probably should have traded him out. Is the 50-50 was trade him or Whitfield, and it just so happened it was Whitfield that's done better since. I would have still said Whitfield is the one I trade. I just didn't like the way he looked through the first couple of weeks. But now I'm really not liking the way Ridley is looking. Hewitt, obviously, he's great. He was half tagging, not like it wasn't like a full on tag. It was more of just I'm running with them to the point where you call it a tag. Who they got this week? Port. He could score pretty low this week. I could see that. Obviously, don't overreact to a bad score this week. If he puts up 80 against Port, which I think they have the lowest average given like to the opposing midfield, and then they give up the highest to forwards or defenders. But yeah, with Cripps out, this should help Hewitt because there was always that question of when Walsh is like full healthy, back and firing. Cripps is like in Brownlow contention, still sort of like when he comes back. It depends on how much the injury hampers like his ability to go into contests and stuff like that. Jared didn't look too bad on the weekend. Of course, there's a plane going past. Hinge got injured. That's not too good to hear. Apparently, it's just a hip pointer. Maybe it's a week out. Maybe it's 2. It's an interesting situation here because I do think you could trade Hinge if you think that there's someone that you're getting in that's a lot of value. And there is one. Nathan O'Driscoll from Freo. He's a defender mid. 167k, I want to say. He should really make a fair bit of money. I would prefer to trade like Gibcus to him because Gibcus just doesn't look too good. Both on field and as just a Supercoach player. He's a key defender, so he's obviously never going to be good in Supercoach. But yeah, just on field, he's not looking the best. De Koning, on the other hand, is not a very good Supercoach player, but does look all right on the field. He can do a couple of things. He can swing forward. He can play defense. He's held down, as much as you'd expect for someone with his experience, while Tom Stewart's been out. So yeah, I think De Koning is fine. It's a slow burn because he's a key back that then moves key forward. So we'll see. Eventually, he's going to make 250k, maybe more. Maybe he makes it to 300, depending on how his break even goes. Yeah, it's a slow burn. You just keep him there. Plus the forward switch, it's helpful in buys. The midfield is the crux of the scoring, and it was all right this week. Didn't take McRae because, I don't know, I had the captain on him, and then I took it off and then put on 2, so dropped a couple of points there. Yeah, just really should be vice captaining or captaining McRae every week. Even like last week, he played the wing role, and obviously people got burnt on that. But you take that if you get 20 rounds of the year where he's putting up a captainable score, and you can take it. So yeah, uh, again this week it's probably Vice on McRae and who we got. I don't mind Neil versus Collywood. Collywood give up a lot of touches, so um, if you got Gorn, this is a pretty easy vice captain or captain here. Probably captain because there's no one after I like. Adelaide, I mean, if you're one of the absolute mad lads that took a punt on Ben Keys, maybe chuck a captain on him and wait and see from these games. Heaney's not bad versus West Coast. West Coast are kind of getting it back together, at least on the weekend it looked like it. So yeah, I don't mind Neil into McRae, and then you're just done for the weekend. Haven't really got to worry the rest of the weekend. I thought I saw Collywood versus West Coast again. I was going to say, yeah, take that. Neil was good as well. I don't think I talked about Neil. He was fine. Probably should have scored a bit higher, but 128, obviously take it. He's averaging 142 on the season. It's insane. End up taking Took captain. Just, he kind of got tagged. I mean, the fan footy and stuff like that will put the tag icon on him because Hewitt was there, but it wasn't really a tag. It was just a poor game from Gold Coast is what it was. They ended up beating Carlton, which, they won because Cripps wasn't there. That's not flatter Gold Coast that much. They won because Cripps wasn't there. Gold Coast is still a couple of years off being relevant. But, I mean, they've got their foundation. They've got, like, this Took, Rowell, Rankin, and Collins crux to build around. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I ended up only taking this because in my matchup, my mate had Took captain as well, and I was scared of a 150. That's all. Or else I would have taken Heaney. Yeah, for a long time I did have Owens on field to take Heaney. I changed it at the last minute. Dunkley kind of got his score zapped from McRae, and all the other dogs mints. I think Bont had like 110, 115, around that range. So yeah, it's just a dog thing. You obviously take this still. He's still D1 to D2, depending on Heaney. Heaney could like keep this up for a season. It is actually possible. Yeah, Dunkley's still probably F1. Rowell, not super impressive from him. As like a Rowell fan, not super impressive, but he is getting to stoppages and he's getting near the ball. It's just he's not getting the ball. Last week his score was like carried by tackles because last week was actually worse than this week. This obviously like a keep. It's not a huge worry. His break even's like 62, which is still 68, still manageable. All it takes is like one big game, like say he puts up a 110, and his break even's fine again. So yeah, don't. Either way, right now there's only like two other options that could be this spot. One's like Lipinski, the other's Berry, and I'll take Rowell over them any day of the week. Lipinski's scoring is so up and down in that Collywood midfield. It's so like reliant on injuries. And then Berry is, if he tags, then he gets a good score because he's forced to go near stoppages. If not, he's so anti-contested, so he ends up scoring like nothing. So I'll take Rowell over them too. The rookies, Horn Francis was good. North do North things. Eventually he'll be like one of the better midfielders in the league. We'll see. Dacos looks like the best rookie of the class still. I think he's like fairly above Horn Francis. Eventually Dacos is going to get defensive DPP. So I think that's next week they're going to start to give them out. Which is another reason why I'd say it's fine to trade Hinge this week. Because next week you're going to get Dacos back there. And Dacos can beat D6 for a while. He can probably hold that spot until buys, until you like need an upgrade and he's made 500k and he's maxed out. Ward, just man, I watched slight bits of the Hawthorn game. I just didn't watch much footy on the weekend, to be quite honest. I didn't find any of the games impressive. But the bits I did tune into this game, Ward just doesn't look AFL ready. To be like he plays wing slash outside mid. You call it what you want. Uh, so he's not going to have that many touches and that many shots at shining, but he just doesn't look AFL ready when he does have the ball in his hand. Bad decision maker. Kicks aren't very accurate. Um, his handballs a lot of the time like lead his teammate into a tackle that ends up holding the ball. I just don't think he's AFL ready yet. He hasn't adjusted to the speed of the game. It's only been four rounds plus the 2 preseason games. So yeah, I think he just needs to do a stint in the VFL. Not a long stint, maybe it's only 3 or 4 weeks. Get his legs under him and then come back up. Kind of what Sydney's doing with Stevens. Stevens is obviously an AFL level player. Yeah, he'd make the list. Ward, on the other hand, I don't think he's at that level yet. He needs to go practice somewhere else. Stevens got dropped for forgotten his name now, but Collingwood, Sydney wing guy. Damn it, I've forgotten his name. Is it McDonald? No, damn, I can't remember his name now. Should come back sooner or later. Hopefully he isn't the sub at some point, because that will really kill his scoring. His break even and cash gen. Right now it's at 1, so even if he is a sub, he makes money. But you don't want that consistently. And I think he's a good sub. Like if you were to pick someone, I think he'd kind of be the prototype of what you want. He can collect the ball. He can play wing. He can play a bit forward. His defense is iffy, so that's probably where you don't want him. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen. McDonald is super goal reliant, so didn't get one this week, so pulled his score down. The Rucks, Grundy did good. I think he actually dominated Nick Nat for 3.5 quarters, and then Dixon came on. It put up a good fight against Grundy, to be honest. I think the stats showed like it was kind of even, but watching it looked like Grundy was dominating him. Wits 154 against pretty much no ruck. It was Tom de Koning, not Sam de Koning. I think they're brothers or they're cousins, one of the two. Wits just dominated. He dominated him. It wasn't even close. Could have been 170 if Wits could get a fair bit more like possessions, but you take 154 obviously. What's his break even now? 16. Man, it's a rewarding trade because this guy's going to make it way more money than Gorn will provide you a unique score. Like Gorn had 130 last week. I actually can't remember off the top of my head, but he had a pretty big score last week. Wits put up a big score this week while Gorn, played all right. You take this. He's in the realm of Gorn still. He's like a top 4 ruck. Mumford's in there, but I don't count him. So say top 3 ruck. For what I brought him in for, which was like 300k, it's fine. Hayes didn't get to play, but he will this week because Ryder's copped a 2-game suspension for something that St Kilda fans will defend, but it shouldn't be in the game. It was a late hit. Sure, he protected himself, but it just doesn't need to be in the game. And Ryder's too old to play, so put him on the bench for good. So Heaney, Butters, Canelio, only one of them did good. Heaney was obviously saved by a goal in the 4th, which gave him a lot of scaling. Apart from that, I think it was on like 70 for most of the game, which is fine. But for the forwards, at least, the forwards suck this year. But yeah, you take the score and the scaling. Butters, 57, didn't look impressive, still looks hurt. And I think the SP, Sam Powell-Pepper, I call him, I do not like Powell-Pepper at all. I think that's kind of like, not traumatized him, but made him aware of I really shouldn't be going like head first and body first into these contacts. I should, play a bit smarter. And he's just got to kind of adjust to that. So we'll see how it goes. Canelio, no CBAs equals no score, plus no goals equals no score. He's almost 400k. Brought him in for like 220 or 270 at the start of the year. This is obviously fine. Sherry, not great, but got stuck on the bench with, I think he cut above his eye or like above his nose, something like that. And the bleeding just wouldn't stop, so they couldn't let him back on the ground. And it just really like killed his score. He'll bounce back. What's his break even at? 58. He can hit that. If he plays like Soul Rock and kicks a goal, he's fine. Naish, probably the hidden gem of the forwards so far. Actually, no, that's Martin. 102k. That's obviously like way better value. But Naish is really up there. Maybe Brody as well. You put up there. He's averaging 80 on the season. I'm going to clickbait round up. He's just looked impressive. As maybe it's West Coast bias is like really helping how I see him, but he's just looked really impressive this year. And I think West Coast should offer him at least like a 3-year extension. Martin was good. He's just got a knack for finding the ball. Essendon need players like this with Merritt out, Langford out. Martin's actually one of their better young players, so hopefully he stays in the team even after those players come back. Rochelle? Yeah, it's Rochelle. I don't. It's hit and miss with names. Didn't take the score. I couldn't get him on field. I mean, I could have, but in hindsight, this was the move, and then you do that. In hindsight, that was the move, but and probably next week I'll do that, and I'll just loop, something between here. But yeah, obviously I would have liked to have it on field, and I probably could have got to 2,300 this week if I didn't screw up rookie roulette. But it is what it is. It happened to most people, I'd imagine. So, and Dixon, this is a huge one. Nick Nat's out till mid-season. Bailey Williams sucks, and Dixon's their best ruck. So until Oscar Allen comes back, which is this week or next, Hugh Dixon's the main ruck for West Coast. We'll see how that goes. I don't think he's that great over ruck, but I think he's serviceable. Sydney, I want to say Hickey is injured. I'm not too sure. I can't. My memory's not great. I'm pretty sure it's injured. Poor Lyset is all right. He'll probably do the job on Dixon. And then Richmond. Richmond actually don't give up that huge a score to rocks, so it's not too bad. Yeah, but it means Dixon's job security's fine. It's actually really good right now. Especially putting on a good performance last week. A couple of frees for him helped, but he's just good all around. Now going into trades this week, I'm thinking Hinge out. This is still super early. I'm waiting for an injury report to see if he's out for an extended period. I think at most it's 3 weeks. Even then, I think you could trade him back in. I know that's seen as a waste of a trade, but Hinge could hit 300k. So he's averaging, take it this week, and he's averaging around 80. So he should be able to make to 300, 330k. But I do, maybe it's West Coast bias, West Australia bias. I do like O'Driscoll though. I think he's got a goal in every game he's played, apart from the sub game. Actually, no, even in the sub game, he had a goal. So, yeah, I'd actually feel fine with fielding him as well. I know this 104 is pretty inflated, but I think he could put up like a 70 to 80 each week, which is fine. Like I said, next week, Dacos is going back there. This is like an easy swap here. They both will have defensive mid. You swap that as D7 to D8, M7 to M8. you can kind of run O'Driscoll, and hopefully by then I have the money to bring in an extra midfielder. I do have my eyes on a couple of them. Maybe we'll just go into that. Right now, this is the only trade I'd make, but I am looking at trading Ridley. The only issue here is I have no idea on who to trade to. This is such a like I do like Doherty, but I don't like his durability, and you're probably paying his max right now. Like between here and 600k is probably going to be his like max. So you do want him to come down a bit before you trade him in. But you could do it this week if you don't really care about that. Sinclair, that's a super pod right now. Pick teams 2%. Yeah, this is like super pod right here. There's a lot can go wrong there. Dawson is probably the easy switch. His scoring's not been like over the moon or anything, but he's super consistent. Zeebel's off the cards for now because he's playing forward. Sicily's alright. If you want like a cheap option, so you go Sicily. Gives you 185k. Remember, you have got to trade Pris in next week. Like that's a must. You have to find a way. I think it's tough actually. What are the break evens of these rookies? 10. Actually, I think I know a way to do it. Yeah, 'cause next week, what's Bruce at? I don't know if I can see it just through this. What can I do? I can do that. No, I can't do anything. Bruce is out this week, so you don't have to trade him in right now, but you do probably have to trade him in next week. He's going to make too much money that you can't miss. So do keep that in mind. I think that the play from 90% of players is Ward out, move Rochelle into the mids, and Hayes to the forwards, and then put Bruce as R3. It's obviously not fieldable. His score's too inconsistent. He's going to get rested games. He'll be laid out. Don't want to field Bruce. People are bringing him in this week, which I wouldn't advise. He's going to miss. All right, who's doing this? Who's trading out Sherry? Don't do that. That's a bad trade. Butters is understandable because he's actually not a proven player. Last year, he put up a couple of big scores, but it really is just a 1 year sample size. He's not proven enough to be like a untradeable player. But yeah, it kind of just comes down to how you play the game. I wouldn't do it. I think it's a sideways trade that you just don't really need to make, and there's not many better options. But yeah, a Driscoll in this week is, I'd say, probably the best move you can make. Everything else is really look at if you need to make it. I'm sitting at 30 trades, which is, probably better than what you want to be. I'd imagine you want to be around 29 to 30. Don't really want to be under 28. If you're under 28, then you just got to stick with your team, ride it out, pick up some value options later. Definitely do not trade boost this week. Under no circumstance. There's not enough issues around the AFL to require a trade boost. If you got Cripps, that's 2 trades. Maybe you want to bring in O'Driscoll plus trade out Cripps. That's 2. You don't need 3 for that. Don't overreact to making too many trades this year. But yeah, that's honestly that's about it this week. Like I said, I might go with this as the vice captain and captain. We'll see. I might change it later. But yeah, until next week, that's about it. Tasty out.